The concept of God choosing certain individuals or groups as chosen is deeply rooted in many religious traditions and often sparks profound theological reflection. In Judeo-Christian thought, for example, the idea of being chosen can be traced back to the biblical narrative, where God selects individuals like Abraham, Moses, and the nation of Israel for specific purposes. This divine election does not suggest favoritism in the human sense, but serves to highlight God's sovereign will and purpose. The chosen are often called to fulfill specific missions or act as conduits for divine revelation to the world. Understanding why God chooses certain people requires an exploration of divine wisdom, grace, and the unfolding of a larger, often inscrutable plan. One reason for this selection can be understood through the lens of purpose and mission. In the Bible, for example, God chose Israel to be a light to the nations. Isaiah 49:6. This choice was not about privilege, but responsibility, to demonstrate God's character and moral law to the world. Similarly, individuals chosen by God often serve as vessels of His message, bringing hope, guidance, or correction to humanity. These roles require a unique dedication and often come with trials and sacrifices. The chosen are called to align their lives with divine principles, which can inspire others to seek and understand God's will. In the New Testament, the idea of being chosen is expanded to include all who believe in Christ. This universality demonstrates that God's election transcends ethnic or national boundaries, focusing instead on spiritual transformation and faith. The Apostle Paul speaks of believers as a chosen people. 1 Peter 2:9, called out of darkness into light to declare God's praises. This broadens the idea of chosenness to encompass a global community united by faith. Here, the purpose of being chosen is to reflect God's love and glory, creating a collective witness to His grace. However, the concept of being chosen is not without challenges and misunderstandings. Some may interpret it as exclusivity or favoritism, leading to arrogance or division. This misinterpretation runs counter to the biblical narrative, where chosenness always carries the weight of responsibility and service. The chosen are not called to dominate or exclude, but to bless and serve others. God's selection is meant to draw more people into a relationship with Him, not to create hierarchies or barriers. Understanding this dynamic helps clarify the role of the chosen in the broader spiritual narrative. However, the concept of being chosen is not without challenges and misunderstandings. Some may interpret it as exclusivity or favoritism, leading to arrogance or division. This misinterpretation runs counter to the biblical narrative, where chosenness always carries the weight of responsibility and service. The chosen are not called to dominate or exclude, but to bless and serve others. God's selection is meant to draw more people into a relationship with Him, not to create hierarchies or barriers. Understanding this dynamic helps clarify the role of the chosen in the broader spiritual narrative. Historically, the idea of chosenness has shaped cultures, religious practices, and worldviews. For instance, the Jewish understanding of being God's chosen people has profoundly influenced their identity, resilience, and moral vision. Similarly, Christian theology often emphasizes the communal aspect of being chosen, highlighting the Church's mission to spread the gospel. These interpretations reflect how the concept of divine election impacts not just individuals, but entire societies. It shapes how they perceive their purpose and interact with the world around them. Philosophically, the idea of being chosen raises questions about free will, justice, and the nature of God. If God chooses some, does that mean others are excluded or predetermined to a different fate? Many theologians argue that divine election does not negate free will, but works in harmony with it. God's choices are seen as invitations to participate in His plan, requiring a human response. This interplay of divine sovereignty and human agency is a mystery that theologians have explored for centuries, reflecting the complexity of understanding God's actions. From a personal perspective, the idea of being chosen can inspire both comfort and a sense of duty. For believers, it is reassuring to think that God has a specific purpose for their lives, affirming their value and place in His plan. At the same time, it calls them to live in alignment with His will, embodying virtues like love, humility, and faithfulness. This dual dynamic, privilege and responsibility, defines the experience of being chosen. It encourages introspection and a deeper relationship with God. In conclusion, the concept of divine election reflects the multifaceted nature of God's relationship with humanity. God's choice of individuals or groups is not arbitrary, but rooted in His purposes of revealing His nature, extending grace, and fulfilling His larger plan. The chosen are called not to superiority, but to service, acting as conduits of God's love and truth. This understanding invites humility, gratitude, and a commitment to the responsibilities that come with being chosen. Ultimately, the concept underscores the mystery and grandeur of God's ways, inspiring faith and trust in His wisdom. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to Chosen for Greatness for more amazing content. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Stay great, and I'll see you in the next one.